Hey everybody, welcome back again to Degen Talk. I'm Jack and I'm here with Colin from Morph. Hi Colin.
Hey Jack, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me.
Such a pleasure. Colin, please introduce yourself. We'd love to know about Morph as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Colin Goltra. I recently joined Morph as the Chief Growth Officer. Morph is a layer two blockchain incubated by BitGet. We're really focused on sort of our grand vision is for consumers. So we really want to be the consumer layer. We want to make sort of blockchain practical, we want to make crypto use cases that sort of people can engage with on an everyday basis. And so I've been brought in to sort of help to clarify that mission, really help to onboard partners, help sort of expand our community. We have a number of initiatives that I'm excited to chat with you about today.
Colin, would love to know your journey so far in the crypto world and what has led to Morph.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the crypto space. I'm a bit of an elder degen, if you will. So I've been in the crypto space for like 12 years, or this is year 12 for me,
Wow.
which is
OG,
a
bro.
point of pride, certainly. But yeah, so I joined. I started in 2013. I was working in sort of traditional finance and living in San Francisco, and
Tell me you're rich
got
without
very.
telling me you're rich, you know?
I mean, I'm still a working guy, but yeah, certainly it's been my life's work, and that's been a huge positive. I didn't originally join sort of crypto to get rich, which is I know not a believable story in 2025. I was very interested in at the time. I was very interested in sort of Austrian economics, and I was very much of that ilk that got into sort of the things that are still the Bitcoin maxi talking points. Over a decade later, those were they were saying all the same things 12 years ago, right? And so yeah, I was interested in sort of broadly speaking, sort of the Austrian economics that became very popular post financial crisis of 2008. I was working in sort of traditional finance, and found myself sort of starting to attend these Bitcoin meetups. And I think at the time it was a very like frontier scene, if you will. I think at the time it was when Bitcoin itself was still just kind of an obscure sort of cult following or cult asset. And so those were really, really exciting times, actually. I think, yeah, there's all these sort of strange characters or funny sort of ecosystem stories. But yeah, I was doing sort of attending meetups, being sort of involved on the side where I could, tried to integrate it. Sort of, I took a sort of traditional sort of big tech strategy role, was trying to do sort of reports for that in that role. And then eventually I decided to go kind of full time into crypto. And at the time, there was an era that was called Bitcoin, not blockchain, which was kind of like, hey, you're not going to, we don't care about crypto assets. We just care about these really slow databases. And, we're going to take all this stuff that works and ruin it by making it really slow and on chain. And it was kind of
Ledgers.
disheartening at the
We
time.
only care about
Yeah, yeah.
ledgers.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of disheartening at the time, and so I knew an investor in a company out in the Philippines. My mother's family's from the Philippines, and so I do have an affinity to that place. He was saying, San Francisco's kind of in a weird state right now. Like, where it would be a really exciting place for you to go is the Philippines. And I said, hell yeah. And so I took a one-way ticket to Manila in 2016. I joined an early stage startup there, talking about sort of the broader sort of fintech and sort of payment sort of play. I joined a company there that was trying to solve remittances using Bitcoin called coins.ph, and sort of as we helped to scale and expand that, that
Wait, they're
became
huge, right? They were huge.
right, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Dude,
they're
I
still
heard
they're
of
still the largest player in the Philippines. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I was
yeah,
a very
yeah.
early stage employee there. Yeah, they're sort of still one of the key players there. But it went from sort of this early concept of sort of Bitcoin as remittances. You need to build the on and off ramp to other coins, a huge payment play integrated sort of throughout the Philippine sort of financial ecosystem. And so it really became this embedded product where you really could use on-chain finance. To get to some of our other themes here, you could really bring on-chain finance and very easily on ramp that into the Philippines and vice versa. And so that to me was my first foray into kind of this intersection of crypto and fintech. And helped to scale that business for 3 years. Was in product, helped do a lot of hiring, and eventually was kind of the GM of their crypto business. And we actually sold that to a regional unicorn called Gojek, which has a huge sort of payment and financial arm. And that was a sort of incredible journey, sort of first sort of foray into the startup scene. Was really kind of this cult like experience, which was great. And then from there, I jumped to Binance, where I kind of got to see mass crypto adoption at scale. So I was there for this really exciting sort of 2 year period, in the last cycle, where we kind of went from, it was 2000 and 2001 during COVID, and we scaled dramatically. And I managed sort of 11 markets across sort of Asia Pacific, was particularly focused on Southeast Asia, and was, very focused on, mom and pop adoption, right? Like just, I think people knew three words, right? It was Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Binance, right? And so, we really became pervasive in that era, and, really helped to be part of a major sort of global crypto brand at that stage.
And yeah, no, I would love to know what your current focus is at Morph.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think if you think through, Cecilia and Azim have really done a great job of kind of world building for Morph, right? So I think a lot of people know Morph as the global consumer layer, sort of bringing people sort of bringing everyday use cases into crypto. And so I see my mission as a refinement or a specification of theirs. I think consumer can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, and I think as we look to 2025 and 2026, it's incumbent upon us to get a lot more specific there. And so, I think the thing our team's really focused on is moving from consumer layer to a near-term mission of on-chain consumer finance. And so what that means is it's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things we're seeing kind of in payments, in stable coins, DeFi. There's all these different sort of components of on-chain finance. And we want to be kind of a hub that consolidates a lot of these initiatives, makes it very consumer friendly, plugs it into sort of large sort of traditional crypto partners, maybe centralized exchanges, sort of large traditional financial institutions, and then of course sort of key, on-chain sort of institutions as well. And so, that for us has been kind of a refinement of the mission that we've seen sort of take place over the last handful of months. And so, yeah, I mean, I think today we're really focused on this on-chain consumer finance focus. Yeah.
Let's dive deep into consumer finance, right? What is
Yeah.
consumer finance in detail, and what do you envision consumer finance in like the next 12, 24 months?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think the cohort I'd identify is there exists now, we're 15 years into crypto or what have you. And so there's now a very real cohort of people who interact and earn natively on chain, right? And so for those people, they might be just pure degens that are just, aping into meme coins. They might be people that have, that are very involved in DeFi. Or just people kind of receiving, maybe working online that are receiving their funds sort of, from abroad through stable coins, these sorts of things. And so I think, Web2 experiences very famously, are sort of rich in user experience. I think a lot of the sort of very, a lot of the exemplary, the really peak examples of sort of high touch UI UX really is born out of like Web2, fintech, if you will, right? And they've built an ecosystem for, savings, loans, payments, habit tracking, these sorts of things, right? And so those are sort of established patterns, but really from like the fiat database world, right? And so there does exist now this on-chain commercial class now, and they need those same products, right? They don't, they maybe don't live in the States, they don't live in Europe, but they are sort of interacting natively online, right? And so they might be stablecoin first, right? There's many parts of the world, I think, where, there's been, huge adoption of stablecoins. Their investment opportunities are probably sort of, large cap cryptos or maybe worse, like early stage meme coins, right? And, I think for that group of like truly crypto natives, they're very strangely underserved, right? They can't bridge into some of those traditional Web2 experiences, and they're not being built for, right? And so I do think in many ways that on-chain sort of class needs a consolidated set of protocols or integrations sort of with the traditional world that speaks specifically to them. And I think obviously that cohort is going to be one that grows dramatically larger in the coming years. But then also obviously can be segmented into many different sort of sub cohorts based on different parts of the world, and certainly different sort of income or earnings or asset levels. And I think on-chain consumer finance to me means it's this intersection of, I think PayFi is a word that gets thrown around. I always laugh a little bit about that. I'm not a fan of it as a buzzword, but I think you don't really get to control what gets picked up as a buzzword. But certainly I think payments is a big use case. I think sort of stablecoin and sort of the flow of international capital is a big part of it. DeFi integrations that can bridge over to sort of more legacy financial systems is probably an underexplored component. And so, I think the team right now is really huddling on a lot of these use cases. We have a good set of, products and partners lined up. And to us, I think consolidating on-chain consumer finance into one layer for us would be a really big first step in terms of this broader high touch sort of consumer layer vision.
Yeah, no, you got your work cut out for you, man.
Yeah, yeah.
What's coming is really exciting. On the topic of what you just mentioned, recently Morph announced a consumer financial platform, right, called MorphPay. Could you tell us more about this and what has inspired you guys to develop this platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a couple things. So I think MorphPay for us is going to be the first initiative in this broader sort of consumer finance thing. I think we do. We've identified kind of the need. First of all, I think crypto dramatically improves upon the sort of legacy payment stack, right? I think anyone who's lived abroad or traveled internationally at scale has had these frustrations of having to move money internationally, or maybe having things not work while you're abroad, these sorts of things. And for me, I think MorphPay is our first initiative as part of that. And so that will be, a set of payment use cases or a payment platform that connects, high yield DeFi vaults all the way to sort of traditional sort of payment rails, right? And so it is that kind of full stack platform where people that are sort of crypto native types can really be served in the traditional financial world. Yeah.
Cool. I heard there's some alphas going on over there. Is there something called Morph Black that's coming? What is that?
There is, yeah. There is, yeah. So Morph Black is it's kind of I kind of think of it as like our elite tier within sort of the MorphPay platform, but it will be, a card and more broadly a status that I think people can get access to. I think it'll give a lot of sort of high touch or sort of elite sort of features within the MorphPay platform. So I think we're setting aside some very high yielding vaults. We're trying to make sure that there's really a high ROI. I think we're hoping to line up up to sort of 30% yield connected from the DeFi side all the way to the
That's a
payment
big
side.
promise.
Yeah. Yeah. I always want to be careful of promising yield, but I think we are, trying to line up the right partners and project roadmap just right to make that happen. And so it'll be a high touch concierge service, airport access lounge. It'll be really, I think people people that have sort of made it in the traditional finance world have a lot of just premium features, right? I think once you're in that kind of elite sort of financial, consumer finance tier, you do get a lot of these high touch features
Yeah, there's gotta
sort of
be
baked in. And
there's
yeah,
gotta be
yeah,
benefits for us crypto bros, right? Come on, right?
yeah,
Like there's people
exactly,
who made
exactly.
it in crypto, but there's no benefit.
Yeah,
What are the
exactly.
benefits though? Like, so walk us a little bit of the benefits that crypto enthusiasts will get with Morph Black.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I think we're aligning some high-end DeFi vaults. It's going to be kind of a privileged status within the Morph sort of payment ecosystem. So that'll be, as we have partner projects, as we have, possibly a future token for Morph as well. These are the sort of participants that are going to get early access to participate in these projects, maybe get some token allocation, governance rights, these sorts of things. And so we do see that as, there's an old thing where you're trying to identify your true fans. We see this as a way to kind of identify who our sort of elite sort of fans are within the ecosystem so that we can kind of specially serve them. So yeah, I think governance rights, special vaults, sort of, like really high withdrawal limits. I think you can withdraw up to $1 million a day. There's a sort of
Million
global
a day?
concierge. Yeah. A million a day. Yeah, yeah. But global concierge, global airport access. And so we are trying to really create the premium experience for that crypto bro demographic. Yeah.
It sounds crazy to us, right? But imagine people like Elon Musk, like, dude, like it's not enough.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, look, I think if we can acquire Elon as a user, I think we
That would be
we
just
will
insane.
move heaven and earth to try to make sure he has higher withdrawal limits. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing.
Absolutely
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
So no, this is great. I always think that if there's a way to bridge Web3 and Web2 in terms of like consumerism, spending, or make the money that you spend the money that you make in crypto as easy as possible, there's definitely the way to go. So how does Morph Pay and Morph Black fit into your broader vision in terms of your consumer finance on the blockchain?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're aware that there's other cards in the market, right? So, I think to some extent this is, the card itself we see as like kind of table stakes, right? So I think there's a lot of other really credible teams, that also, want to make sure, that there's an off ramp, for sort of on-chain crypto. I think for us, Morph Black is not just the card itself. It is kind of this preferred status in an up and coming ecosystem that's aligned with, really, really critical centralized exchange partners, really critical. So, I think we want builders to build in sort of the MorphPay ecosystem, and we can try to accelerate sort of, their crypto projects. Uh, I think the card itself is sort of table stakes as an experience. But then the Morph Black sort of status is one that will be, kind of ported into sort of the other verticals we go into in consumer finance. So you could imagine sort of Morph Black being a preferential status in say a loan application or some other sort of high touch, financial experience, maybe some international payments, these sorts of things. And so, I think it's a vault, it's a card, it's access to, kind of the future partners that that we've lined up. And, I think it's more than the card itself because there's other great teams doing that as well. But for us, it's sort of a broader ecosystem play.
As a user and crypto builder, I would always say yes to more different cards because you don't have just one bank card, right? You have several, right? You
Yeah,
don't have one credit card, you have
totally.
several. So there's absolutely space for excellent project to make excellent products and excellent benefits, for example, that would cater to different people and different audiences. And I think that it will become clearer after this project, after these kind of cards have been released into the wilds, and we'll have a clearer picture on where the trend in terms of the user bases, right? In 2025, what you see now, is this the landscape that you envisioned 12 years ago? And or how
Uh,
different is it from what you've envisioned when you started?
I think in many ways it's similar. I think the use cases, I think it continues. So the one rule of, there's a lot of rules of crypto, but one of them is like the use cases just get weirder and weirder, right? So I think certainly, uh, certainly like coins and some of these things, I don't think people would have predicted. Although, in fairness, back in sort of the San Francisco Bitcoin days, we were actively discussing, crypto was the obvious, was the logical sort of bank account of an AI. We were also, Dogecoin came out from that scene also. So, it's like to some extent the things, it's strange that those would be kind of at the center of the ecosystem, but kind of everything does take its turn. I think one of the big differences between that era and this new one is the use cases are coming out, but it's a little weird because crypto has gotten such mainstream institutional adoption that I think psychologically that's something that I think a lot of like OG crypto bros need to grapple with. Myself, I think I'm past it, but I definitely had to grapple with it for a while too. I think for a while we gained a lot of energy mentally or psychologically from being like the rebellion, right? I think for
Yeah.
a while we were like the cult rebellion. No one understands us. We were like the moody teenager of tech or something. And
Yeah,
I think
you don't
we
want to explain this to
got,
anyone because that's your edge. That was
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
you guys are all
totally.
idiots.
Yeah. And so I sometimes maybe compare it to like, Bitcoin, and then crypto more generally. We were, maybe like the first several years we were like the sort of student protesters or like some sort of that where we were like this protest to the financial system or to, to the art world when NFTs were prevalent, to the gaming world in the sort of Web3 gaming boom. I think there was this rebellion element that we drew a lot of energy from. And I joke now that like we've graduated undergrad and what did we do? We got a job in finance, and our job in finance is the ETF and regulatory approval and the strategic Bitcoin reserve and sovereign wealth funds adopting crypto into their
I think what's good is crypto's here to stay, right? After all these things that's
totally.
happened. So I think
Yeah, yeah,
I think probably that's the most important takeaway and really gives us confidence, right? Where back in 2013, this is something like, okay, you don't know how long this is gonna last, right? This thing could go
Yeah,
away in the next like 2 years, or it could go
totally.
away tomorrow. You know what I mean? There's always a little tingling thing at the back of your mind. Now that tingling thing's gone.
Yeah. So, I think this is a high quality problem to have, though. I'm certainly not complaining. I think I'll trade in our moody, angsty sort of teen rebellion in order to, just have some staying power, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we're concerned in the same way about just being wiped out as an industry. I think project to project, there's still going to be issues. There's still going to be good actors, still going to be bad actors, these sorts of things. But I think I think the institutionalization of crypto is on balance a very positive thing. But I think as it relates to community building a little bit, I think the community's gone from kind of this community that was rebellious and mission driven, and it's bifurcating now to, I think, one that is very. Degen used to be someone that still believed in crypto. You'd read the white paper still, right? And there's now there's a little bit, the Degen has gone a little nihilistic with meme coins. Yeah, by the way, I enjoy a good sort of meme. I enjoy a good meme in general, right? So like I get the value in it, but it's less there's less heart or something.
You've
Yeah, yeah,
seen when degens actually read the white paper, right?
yeah,
Actually do your own research,
yeah,
actually research,
yeah, yeah.
to now where essentially you can just drop a contract address and you'll just ape it. What's your view? I would love to hear your view on the current kind of AI agents and meme coin kind of landscape, like from your perspective.
Yeah, so meme coins, I get. So okay, so I'll split them out a little bit. So I think of meme coins, I get their entertainment value, but I think they're largely counterproductive. Like I think the other phrase that gets thrown around is like financial nihilism, and I do think that it does tap into that, where it's like crypto, by which I mean sort of Bitcoin, and then sort of the really credible sort of layer ones, and certainly sort of the broader application set, in those ecosystems. I think crypto originally started as this protest vote against the traditional financial system, right? I couldn't, I can't have a Swiss bank. I can have Bitcoin. I can't have, financial services are not globally available. Screw it. We'll build that infrastructure ourselves, right? So I do think that there was this natural protest vote for what people saw as an unfair system. And then for whatever reason, system itself became the perception of that. So I think there's a new generation. I think it's like a younger demographic, right? The people that sort of believe that vision are in their 30s, right? And certainly plus or minus 10, 20 years or whatever, right? That generation has kind of grown up a little bit, right? Probably ourselves included. The next gen and sort of the younger generation knows that as the institution, right? So they know, Coinbase. They don't know an era where Coinbase or Binance or these places were like early stage startups, right? They don't know an era where the crypto funds that we consider very tier one or elite were startups or had to build their credibility, right? And so from their perspective, they see that as the institution, and they see crypto now as an insider game against against them or something, right? And so there's this weird generational cycle where they want a protest vote to our protest vote, right? And so I do think that's what meme coins are, right? We built this sort of venture backed crypto, alternative financial infrastructure that was a protest vote against maybe Wall Street or traditional banking, and now they see that as and now the next generation sees almost that as sort of insurmountable in a way, and is doing protest votes against us, right? But I think a lot of these are very young people that maybe don't have a strong technical or financial background, but the tools are so easy that their protest vote is just dog with hat or whatever, or or fart coin or whatever, right? And so I do think that there's like this intergenerational protest rebellion. And so yeah, meme coins are this funny thing where it's kind of the rebellion within the rebellion, but it kind
Yeah, I
of
was going to
detracts,
say
I think, a
that
little bit from the
because what you said is
mission. Yeah,
completely
yeah,
right. Before it was like a rebellion against traditional finance, and now it's rebellion against the Bitcoiners, the ETH
yeah, yeah,
maximalists. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
the top 10,
Totally.
because they're like,
Yeah,
oh, you guys are old. Do you know what I mean? Like you guys are like
yeah.
fucking old, right?
Yeah, I have no information about whether or not that's true, by the way. But yeah, so that's meme coins, and then I'd say on the AI agent front, like clearly this is going to like the ultimate pattern with all bubbles, right? And I think I don't associate bubble as a bad word necessarily, and I think there's good literature lately on. There's a really good book lately called Boom. It's by Bern Hobart and a co-author that's kind of talking about bubbles as this investment cycle that gets you out of stagnation is kind of the thesis, right? And so it's like, the mania of a bubble creates like focused investment in the thing. And then even if those plays don't work out, the infrastructure that gets built for that thing exists now to later on have it work, right? And so I think the AI agent craze is doing, probably the things that are very popular right now are going to be totally irrelevant down the road, as with all bubbles, right? The dot-com bubble, most of the things are now kind of punchlines or jokes, but from that you get an Amazon or an eBay or a Yahoo, and the tiny, couple percent of winners from that cycle, eventually far outstrip the gains, the losses of that sort of bubble cycle, right?
And it will
I think
and it will set the standard
crypto,
for
yeah,
that.
totally. And I think the crypto AI thing we're seeing right now probably has some of that dynamic as well. It's probably doing a good thing, which is teaching crypto natives AI concepts and getting them up to speed with the prospect that AIs really will need to use crypto. Probably a lot of the intersectional projects we see at this crypto X AI thing, probably they're going to fail, but the focus of energy and resources in doing that, those failed projects will almost be like fertilizer for the projects that eventually do succeed. And I'm sure it's hard to pick winners right now, but I'm sure some of the ones we have right now will also be long-term winners. And so I do think that one's here to stay. That one's been kind of a long talked about use case. There's even like there's old blog posts from like 2014, 2015 about like self-driving cars that have crypto wallets and they bid against each other in order to like go faster in traffic. And there's really like the fully autonomous AIs that can transact value has been kind of there is a lot of old literature on that. And so in some ways every niche crypto idea gets its day in the sun. And so I do think it is cool to see the proliferation of AI agents, even if not all of them are will quite have the staying power we hope. Yeah.
What, Colin? So, what's your tip for builders that's looking to build on Morph?
Yeah, so I think so far we've been engaging kind of across the consumer stack, right? And I think one of the things we've talked a lot about sort of in Q1 is specificity, right? Specificity in that consumer vision. So, I've hammered the points a little bit on this sort of on-chain consumer finance vision. But, I think to us, I think it's going to be really about being incredibly supportive, especially in the context of the pieces that can help make our MorphPay platform successful and this broader vision for on-chain consumer finance. So I think to get to the things I think that we bring to the table for builders, we have a grants program that I think we are actively in the process of overhauling so that we can be especially more targeted with grant sort of recipients. We were incubated by BitGet, which is, currently one of the, which is just a global exchange really in its ascendancy right now, right? I think, everyone knows BitGet, but, I think they're, one of the fastest growing exchanges. And so, we look to them as very close partners. They incubated Morph. And so we would want to make them sort of successful connect them to, centralized exchange partners that could be helpful for them as well. Certainly, we want to give them a lot of exposure. We're building out. So I came in to sort of lead growth, which is sort of partnerships, marketing, and community. I think on the marketing front, we're hoping to build kind of a full sort of distribution platform to make projects that build on Morph successful. That'll be support with KOLs, events. That'll be support with sort of broader PR pushes or these sorts of things. And so we really look to be really hands on with our partners there. And then, I think it's a combination of grants, access to partners, sort of access to sort of distribution. And then just I think we want to be broadly available, right? Like, I think we're in the threads with all our partners. We want to be, incredibly high touch. We're building a team that can kind of support that. And so, I think, if you're a builder, come to Morph. We want to talk to you. And especially if you're building sort of on-chain consumer finance. So if that's a payment solution, if that's something that really leverages stable coins, if that's something that, maybe lending and borrowing, sort of traditional DeFi that, wants to maybe plug into finance, traditional financial rails, we definitely want to talk to you. So please do hit me up.
Great, wonderful. Colin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Degen Talk. And for our audience, I'll be linking all the stuff that Colin has talked about inside the tweet, so you can click on it and see what's going on at Morph. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks so much.